on Facebook or radio. Again, my name is Dr. Curt. Thanks for joining me tonight. We're going to share a little bit about weight loss and why it's not just about how you look, but weight loss is really, really important because it affects your health. And right now, as I'm going to show you with a couple of peer-reviewed articles, it's really important because it actually helps with your immune system. And one of the articles came out late 2020, right after COVID hit. So let me show you that, and then I'll start discussing it. So hang on one second. Let me pull this up. Okay. So this one is a article. It comes from the African Health Sciences. And this is June of 2020. And basically, you can read that there. It says weight reduction improves immune system and inflammatory cytokines in obese asthmatic patients. And you remember, if you go back 3 years ago, what were we talking about? About 3 years and 2 months ago, or 3 years and 10 months ago, 2 years and 10 months ago, we were talking about these cytokine storm. Remember that? Cytokine storm. Most people had never heard of cytokine storm. They were thinking that, what kind of weather is blowing in, but cytokine storm, that's when you have this inflammation, your body just can't handle the inflammation. It starts just going crazy, and then your immune system starts to react. And people were getting really sick, and they were ending up in the hospital. And so one of the things that I talked about early on was using elderberry, which is found in our Influence product, and then glycertin, which is also found in Influence. It's found in the Stemolytic product as well. And, I've got both those products right here. Here's my Stemolytic. I don't know if you can see that. And then I got my Influence right here, right? I have both these products sitting right here at my desk, and, because I take them. I mean, I don't just talk about this stuff, I take them. But you can see that the objective of this study was the target of the study was to assess the impact of weight reduction on the immunological and systemic inflammatory markers in obese asthma patients. And think about asthma. You don't have to have asthma, but think about what asthma is. It's a lung condition. And what are we talking about when we talk about COVID? We're talking about lung problems, right? We're talking about cardiovascular problems, people not being able to breathe. And so the study found that you can go to the conclusion there. And it says weight reduction improved immunological and systemic inflammatory markers, right? So again, look at the date of the study, June of 2020. So this was just a couple months after COVID had hit. So you can go look that study up if you want. It's on PubMed. So let me stop this share, and then I'm going to start a different one. Let's see, over here. And no, that's not the one. All right. There it is. Okay. So this one is another article on weight loss. And if you look at the date of this one, this is Frontiers in Nutrition. Frontiers in Nutrition. And it's dated November 2020. November of 2020. So again, think about the date. This is the first year. This is about a year after they started noticing people that were getting sick, because the whole thing started in China late in 2019. And a year later, they're coming out with this article that says the impact of obesity and lifestyle on the immune system and susceptibility to infections such as COVID-19. So this one goes right after the disease that we're talking about. Look at where this is. This is a study that comes out of the Netherlands, right? Department of Cardiology, Leiden University Medical Center, Leiden, Netherlands, Department of Endocrinology, Leiden University Medical Center, Department of Health Sciences, the VU Medical Center, Amsterdam, Netherlands, Department of Immunology, University Medical Center in the Netherlands, right? The Division of Clinical Immunology, University Medical Center, Division of Endocrinology, University Medical Center, the Obesity Center at the University Medical Center in the Netherlands. So, you know, these aren't studies that are just being put out by somebody's trying to sell you a vitamin, folks. I mean, that's the whole thing. People say, oh, you're just trying to, you know, come up with ways to sell your vitamins, to sell your nutritional products. And, you know, and so I just wanted to point out that I didn't write these articles, and you don't have to search hard to find them. And it says COVID-19 is a global challenge to healthcare. Obesity is common in patients with COVID-19. Well, back then it was. It seemed like the older people, the heavier people, and it seemed to aggravate the disease prognosis, right, in this review. So they noticed this, you know, not even a year after the pandemic started. They explore the link between obesity, chronic disease, lifestyle factors, the immune system, and propose sociologically interventions to enhance global immunity, right? But what have we really noticed in the last, you know, 3 years, 2 years after this article was written, is that we still aren't putting a lot of emphasis on building the immune system. Not here in the United States, anyhow. I don't know about the rest of the world, but you know, we're not seeing a lot of articles coming out and with people telling us how to improve the immune system. We're not seeing a lot of articles coming out with saying, hey, you know, guys, take some of this and this and this to boost your immune system. We're not seeing a lot of articles coming out and saying, hey, let's get everybody to lose 10 or 20 pounds and that'll improve the outcome, right? So the results of this study, the relationship between obesity and unfavorable COVID-19 prognosis is discussed in light of the impact of chronic disease and lifestyle on the immune system. Chronic disease and lifestyle in the immune system. Several modifiable lifestyle factors render us susceptible to viral infections. Oh, really? And so we make a case for fostering a healthy lifestyle on a global scale. So this is what they're telling us from that little country over there in the Netherlands, is that we can make a global change if we look at this. And so the conclusion was obesity and additional chronic disease and unhealthy lifestyle interactively impair the immune function and increase the risk of severe infectious disease. Think about that. Obesity and additional chronic disease and unhealthy lifestyle interactively impair the immune function and increase the risk of severe infectious disease. So adverse metabolic and endocrine conditions, the immune system is geared toward inflammation. What does that mean? Well, let me explain it to you. Basically, if we go back to the beginning of man, humans, if you go back to before the caveman days, you know, sure, you could get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger, you could get run over by a woolly mammoth and things like that. But what about for those guys that cut themselves and got an infection? We didn't have any antibiotics. We didn't know how to treat that. We didn't even know, well, we didn't have Band-Aids. We couldn't cover it up, any of those things. So what ended up happening is a lot of these cavemen, you know, a lot of these cave women, they ended up getting an infection, and the infection killed them. Well, the immune system was designed such that when you got a cut, when you got an infection, what it would do is it would cause some inflammation around that area, which would cause the body to react and send different kinds of immune antibodies, I guess, and other types of immune properties to that area, and it would try to heal it up. Well, we've advanced, you know, a lot of the things that we do, but our body still reacts like we're a caveman. And so that's why we see the immune system doing what it does. So what they say here is that let's get rid of that chronic inflammation. You've heard me talk about it. Is that right now there's studies that have come out, and they say that the trend is that we have most people have a high ratio of omega-6 to omega-3. Omega-6 and omega-3 are the different types of fats. And we need some omega-6 because we do need some of that inflammatory factor in case we do get sick. But right now, they're saying the ratio is somewhere like 24 to 1, and it should be close to, they're saying that if it was close to 4 to 1, it would be good. That would be, so for every 4 omega-6 molecules we have in our blood, we should have 1 omega-3. And right now it's close to 24 to 1. So they say that, modifiable risk factors for obesity and chronic disease on a global scale will increase the resistances to viruses like SARS-CoV-2. And you can read through this article, and it talks about the different results and how they did the study and how they excluded people that were smokers and things like that. I read through the study, and I thought they did a good job, because sometimes, they won't exclude anybody. Sometimes they include everybody, but then you don't get a really good study. But this one was pretty good. And so their study comes out with the conclusion that we really can modify the risk factors. So that was one of the reasons that when I was I was down, that was the last time I was down in Australia, was I got home the first part of March of 2020, and as I was flying back into the United States, they were closing the airports. I mean, when I left California, there were 6 people on my plane. People were scared. People were afraid. They didn't know what this thing was. They didn't know what was going on, and they were truly scared. So, and they had reason to be at that time. And so when I got home, then the whole country kind of went into lockdown. I think the whole world pretty much went into lockdown after that. And there's still some parts of the world that are really running on a fear type of basis. But early on, my son, my middle boy, Sammy, who's a medical doctor, he called me up and he said, "Hey, Dad," he said, "you really need to lose some weight." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know. It's something that I didn't take for granted. I always kind of watched my weight. Usually I watched it go up, but I did watch it. And in some ways I'd given up on weight loss, but because it was like, man, I seemed like I go down 10 and then I gain 20. I go down 20 and I gain 40. And so I'll explain what I'm doing. But anyhow, my son called me up and he was worried. He was concerned. He said, "Dad," he said, "you got to do something about it." So then and there, I decided that I was going to start working on my weight, and I started following more of a keto lifestyle. I found that it would work for me, and I lost some weight doing that. But then Tom Maurer Jr. came out with this product right here, Sizzle Thin, and I find that makes all the difference. And you when you're using it, one of the things that I found is that you really do want to take it about half an hour before you eat anything. And I find that for me, if I take it right away in the morning, when I get out of bed, first thing I do is I go into my bathroom and I take out the Sizzle Thin and I take out a bottle of the H pill, because the H pill is another one you're supposed to take on an empty stomach half an hour before you eat anything. But I take that right away before I even come downstairs. So I do that, take care of all the stuff that I'm going to do upstairs, take my shower, get the dogs up, whatever, and then I come downstairs and I make my coffee, and while the coffee's brewing, I'm feeding the dogs. But about the time that I'm all done with that and I'm ready to sit down and have something to eat, a little bite to eat, no matter what it is, I find that my hunger's gone, and I think that's important, that you do that. And if you read up on a lot of the studies that talk about intermittent fasting, the studies that talk about dietings and things like that, they say that the most important meal is actually the one that you have in the morning. So I'll do intermittent fasting, but what I try and do is like, you know, from here on, it's 7 o'clock my time now. I'll try and go, you know, 2 or 3 times a week. I'll try and go 18 hours without eating. And you don't have to do it every day. You don't have to do intermittent fasting every day. That's why it's called it intermittent. And so you do it occasionally. And they find that if you can do intermittent fasting 2 to 3 days a week, it does just as much good as doing it 5 days a week. It does just as much good as doing it, you know, 7 days a week. And so what you want to do is you just want to cut back on the amount of food that you eat. You want to cut back so that you're only eating in a like what I'll say is a 4-hour window. And I find that the Sizzle Thin helps to control that hunger so that I'm able to do that. And, you know, so I've lost a total of 70 pounds, and I've kept it off. Now, wintertime, I find that I have an easier time losing weight. And what I talked about with people before is that I felt like the reason I had an easier time in the winter was because I didn't really go anywhere. I stayed home. It's wintertime. It's cold out. I don't go do things outside that much. And so, you know, I'm just home. So I found that I can control what I'm doing, who I'm hanging with, and I'm able to control the amount of meals, the amount of food that I'm exposed to, which reduces the amount of calories that I eat. And but so this new product that Tom Jr. came out with called Turn and Burn. Again, that's not a new dance craze. It's not called the Turn and Burn dance. You know, you're not going to see it out in the dance floor. What it is, it's a product that the turn part is that it turns the white fat into brown fat. And white fat is your storage fat. It's the fat you make from eating too much sugars. It's the fat that your body makes. Remember I was saying that I used to lose 10 pounds and I'd gain 20? Well, I used to follow these starvation type diets. I'd reduce my calories to a very low calorie diet. And then the problem with it is that it triggers your brain to think, hey, Curt's starving. Curt's starving. We must have a great famine going on in the country. We might have a great famine. So let's save up for a rainy day. So then as soon as I would go back to eating a normal diet, what would end up happening is that my body would collect all of this food, and my metabolism would go down. And what it would do, no matter how much I exercise, my metabolism would go down, and it put this food into the fat storage areas, and that's what the white fat is. And white fat doesn't have a lot of good vascularization. It doesn't have blood vessels. It also doesn't have a lot of nerves in it, anything like that. But there's very little energy production in a white fat cell. So a white fat cell just sits there. It just sits. It's storage. It's like putting something in a storage unit and forgetting that you have it. Well, you know, that's what ended up happening. Brown fat, on the other hand, which they discovered, because they used to think that humans really didn't have any brown fat. Brown fat actually has, it's highly innervated, which means that it has nerves, it has feelings, not bad feelings, just good feelings. And then it has vascularization, so it's got blood vessels going to it, which is good, because that's one of the reasons that fat is so bad, because your body has to work so hard to pump blood around through it. But the brown fat has good vascularization. But the other thing that brown fat has in it is it has mitochondria. Mitochondria are the nuclear power plants in your cells, and they burn energy. So brown fat cells can actually burn fat. So turn and burn. So what we have is we have a product that, I guess Tom said on the call earlier today, if you were on the call with Lisa and Tom Auer Jr., Tom was saying that the product should be made available on the 28th of this month. So let's say the first of next month, just to be safe, you know. So don't hold out on placing your orders for your products here in January, waiting for that product to come on board, because, you know, I mean, I've come to find out when people say something's going to be here by the end of the month, it usually means the beginning of next month. And so that's what I'm going to run by, is that the product will be available next month. Maybe we'll get lucky and it'll be available, but let's run with it for next month. But it's going to convert that white fat into brown fat, and then then the burn part of it is it's going to increase your temperature in your body's oven, so it melts the fat, right? Melt the fat and turn it back into energy, so your body can use it as fuel to power the cells. Turn and burn, turn and burn. And then if you combine that with some of the other things, if you combine it with the ketogenic diet, if you combine it with the sizzle thin, which is, to get rid of that hunger, because I think that, really, really important, long term, you've got to modify your lifestyle. Remember both those articles that we talked about, that I showed you here just a few minutes ago. Both of those articles talked about lifestyle changes. So you don't want to just lose the weight and then gain it back. You don't want to do that. What you want to actually do is you want to lose the weight and you want to keep it off. And how do you keep it off? You change your lifestyle. So I've learned how to eat better, and that's what's keeping my weight off. So I'm not, eating as much. I'm not eating all the processed carbs. The amount of times that I eat, like, say, bread or pasta now. I used to have bread. Oh, I bet I had bread in the house here, and I would eat bread 4 or 5 meals a week, maybe more than that even. But if I had any chips or any snack foods, oh boy, they were gone. If I had, especially chocolate chip cookies, if I have chocolate chip cookies, they're gone like that. I'll sit down and I'll feel guilty about it. So then I eat the whole box or a whole bag or the whole pan of chocolate chip cookies. I mean, because I just feel guilty about the fact that I ate one. And that was the problem, where now I find that if I'm modify my lifestyle and I learn how to eat, like for supper tonight, what did I have? I had a bowl of pineapple. It's a lot healthier for me. And it's, I find that it's filling. I still eat a really good breakfast, and then, like I said, I do intermittent fasting 2 to 3 times a week. But again, the idea is that you're not just doing it so you can look in the mirror and go, "Oh, I lost some weight. Look at me." No, you're doing it because the goal is, hopefully the reason that you're buying Sizzle products is that you want to be healthier and you want to live longer. I mean, my goal is I want to live to be 110. I'll turn 61 here in about April. I'll turn 61, and my goal is to live to be 110. I was just talking to my mom the other day. One of our relatives just died. He was 105. He was the oldest functioning farmer in the United States. He was still farming at 105. They just did a news story about him in October. And he just passed away this week at 105. My mom says that my great-grandparents were all in their 90s. They all lived well into their 90s. So my chances genetically of living to be over 100 years old are probably pretty good. And I'm modifying some of the things that maybe they didn't have access to. I'm sure they ate a lot of fatty foods that they didn't know like we know now. And but I cut back on all the processed foods. So, think about that, is that you want to modify what you're doing, not just for the here and now, but you want to modify it for the long term so you can live healthier. And we certainly don't want to come down with this sickness that's going around with this COVID infection. Boy, I talk to people every day that that get sick from it. And they're sick for some of them. I was just talking to my cousin, and he said that he's still noticing that he hasn't got his sense of taste back. And another person I was talking to saying that his wife has a chronic cough that she's had for 2 years now. Can't seem to get rid of it. Can't throw it after getting this COVID infection. So, for what it's worth, you want to boost that immune system so you don't get this thing. And I don't think this is the last virus that we're going to see going around like this. I think that, that we've stirred something up in the world as far as like these viruses, and by using all the antibiotics and the processed foods and things like that. we've changed the world a little bit. And I think the focus should be on is not so much what can medicine do for you. I mean, I'm not your doctor. If you feel sick, I advise you go seek medical attention from your healthcare provider. But at the same time, what I'm saying is that, you know, we got to look at the nutrition. Linus, who received 2 Nobel Prizes, look really hard at your own body. He said that chances are you've got some chronic vitamin and mineral deficiencies that you need to take care of. Look at that kinds of things. And that's what we have when we look at our different, you know, sizzle products that we have, is we have a way to modify that. So folks, thanks for being with me tonight. And, you know, I'll get this video sent out to everyone probably in the morning, maybe later tonight, as soon as it processes on YouTube. And thanks for being with us, and see you on Facebook. Thanks for being there. If you listen to the recording, thank the person that got it to you, and get back to them and let them know that you'd like to check out some of these products and give them a try. Have a good one. Bye-bye.